Massive news for UK investors as Hargreaves Lansdown have just announced that they're going to be offering private markets to retail investors on their platform. So this is in partnership with Schroders, who are going to be offering two private markets funds on the platform. One is a global equity fund, which will focus on small to mid-cap companies who are in a variety of sectors like tech, healthcare, etc. And then a energy transition fund. So this will focus on companies who produce things like wind farms, solar panels, hydrogen, that kind of stuff. So what are private markets and why is this such big news? So private markets are essentially just like public markets in the fact that they're shares in companies. However, these companies aren't listed, meaning they're not on a stock exchange. So unlike shares in Vodafone or Apple, for example, which you can just buy and sell throughout the day while the market's open, shares in private companies aren't on a stock exchange. So buying shares is a lot more illiquid because rather than there just being a constant supply and a constant demand, you have to physically negotiate each of the transactions, which can be quite an arduous process. Now, with this comes potentially higher returns, as these kind of companies will be usually in earlier stages of development, giving them more potential to grow into bigger companies where they may then list on an exchange and then really increase in value. However, it also does come with an element of risk, which is why the minimum buy-in on Hargreaves Lansdown will be £10,000 for these funds, because they need to ensure that investors do have enough money to be able to stomach any potential losses, which with private companies is a lot more likely than a public company because essentially they've just had less time to prove themselves. In addition to the increased risk of these kind of companies failing, you also have less transparent valuations because simply these companies aren't on a stock market. And also they're a lot more illiquid for this reason as well, which means you may only be able to withdraw, or at least request to withdraw your money every month or even every quarter. And you might have to wait 90 days for the company to actually give you your money back because, as mentioned earlier, this company's got to have to find a buyer for the shares that you've got because, again, they're not listed on a market. So by all means, consider private markets as part of a balanced investment portfolio. However, it's really important that you're aware of all the risks and you proceed with caution if you're thinking of investing in private markets.